Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Europe, Middle East and Africa region launch of our 14th generation servers. We have a fantastic agenda lined up for you this morning. We have some fantastic guest speakers. The beating heart of the 14th generation server is the Intel processor. And we have Werner Schuler from Intel will be speaking with you this morning. A server is only as good as the applications and the workloads that run on it. One of our longest standing PowerEdge server users and our first 14th generation server user here in EMEA in UK, Cambridge University. And we have the Director of Research Computing from Cambridge, Paul Collegia, here with us this morning. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our friends, colleagues at Microsoft for giving us the use of their Microsoft Technology Center for this morning's presentations. So, 2017 is the year of digital transformation. Digital transformation gives us new and innovative ways to reach out to our customers and to communities and to integrate and interact with our customers in new and innovative ways. Digital transformation starts with ideas, wetware, human thought. But by definition, to be digital transformation, those ideas need to be translated into software. And where does modern software run? It runs in a cloud. But as Michael Dell is very fond of saying, a cloud is not just a place. It is a way of doing business. It can be a public cloud, such as Microsoft Azure, such as AWS or Google, but it can also be a private cloud within your data center, or it can be a cloud within your service partner's data center or some hybrid combination therein. But within a cloud, what is the technology? The technology is virtualized everything. Virtualized compute, virtualized storage, open networking, converged and hyper-converged infrastructure. All of that sits on an x86 server platform. So the x86 server platform is the fundamental building block and bedrock of the modern data center. On top of that, the applications that drive digital transformation. So the choice that you make in terms of your x86 server is pivotal to the foundation of everything on top of that. Now the good news is, over recent years, the choice that you and thousands of other people have made is to choose Dell PowerEdge servers. As you saw from the opening video, we are already globally #1 in x86 server units. Here in Europe, our server market share has increased year after year after year. And I give the UK just as one market example because we're physically here in the UK today. We are now only 2.5 percentage points behind our competitor. This year, and driven on with 14th generation, will be the year that Dell EMC becomes the market leader here in the UK and in Europe as well. So for that, and before we get into more about the 14th generation servers, actually, as you can see from the words thank you in as many languages I could think of, to thank you for your contribution to our success to this point, and we look forward to helping drive forwards your digital transformation journey in the months and the years ahead. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the beating heart of the x86, the beating heart of the x86 server is the x86 processor. And absolutely pivotal to our success and our success going forward with the 14th generation server is our relationship with Intel. So please welcome to the stage Werner Schuler from Intel.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you, Peter, and thank you very much for doing this launch here jointly with us. Yesterday evening, Intel launched the Skylake CPU, codenamed the Xeon Scalable Processor is the correct name of that. So we are very proud of having that event now jointly with Dell, where we talk really about the 14th generation of servers and our partnership together. Maybe one word about our partnership with Dell EMC and Intel, which spans for the last 30 years or so with Dell, and we've for the last 20 years actually with the x86 servers. We co-developed those servers. We actually drove innovation after innovation forward. And here in Europe, we work very, very closely also on driving then those solutions to the customer benefits and helping our joint customers to deploy those and really drive the highest performance, the best scalability, and the best security in those kind of platforms. So it is about the 14th generation of the Dell EMC PowerEdge servers powered by the Intel Xeon Scalable processors. Those are kind of the correct naming, and they obviously roll off very easily off our tongue. It is, like we said, 20 years of innovations coming together, and it is not only about the Intel Xeon Scalable processor, not only about the CPU, but about the innovation which we drive jointly in the whole platform on the storage side as well as on the networking side. So therefore, that really comes now together in the Intel Xeon Scalable processor platform, and therefore we also changed some of the nomenclature, some of the naming, which you're used to. So we're not naming it E5, E7, E3, but we commonalize the platform, and we have a bronze, a silver, a gold, and a platinum Xeon Scalable processor line for you to choose from, dependent on your workloads and your needs. Those Intel Xeon Scalable processors actually have a couple of vectors which I want to highlight on. One is performance. You're used to that, and the Intel Xeon Scalable processor is no different than that. Each generation we increase the performance by increasing the number of transistors which we pack on a die, and by also increasing the number of technologies and bringing on new technologies into the market. 65% of average performance gains we drove really in the new processor family, generation over generation. That is a quantum leap. It's not the 5, 10, 15, 20% you might be used to in previous generations. We have now set 58 world record benchmarks with that new platform at launch, and we are counting daily on that. Obviously, this performance in numbers doesn't really mean a whole lot. Those benchmarks are sometimes a bit of a workload approximation, but it doesn't really help in general if you don't know what that means for you. So we've already worked with some of the ISVs, with a lot of those customers, to really drive then also those performance into some real-life workloads. And I give you one or two examples on that. We've introduced a technology called AVX512 that really helps now to have 2 times the flops per clock cycle. And that obviously is something which the high-performance computing market, we will hear also from Paul Kalija, has benefited of already in the past. We are taking that to the next level and driving that also to artificial intelligence. So in artificial intelligence, in deep learning, we are actually now increasing with software optimizations the performance in deep learning about 100 times over previous generations without the software optimizations. Okay, so that really is another leap in artificial intelligence and deep learning, which we're driving then as one of those next new waves of compute power enabled by also the 14th generations of servers with the Intel Xeon Scalable processors. So that is on the performance side. Also more in data analytics than in that we've worked with SAS together, one of the leaders in data mining, in data analytics, modeling, etc. And they've seen a 2x in performance of their software and data analytics applications by using the new Xeon Scalable processor, and also combining that, and I will get to that, also with the NVMe, SSD technologies, and Optane, another new NVMe memory and storage technology which we are bringing into the market. So that about performance. The next aspect I want to highlight is security. In the security space, it's, as you can see on the slide, 2x in data protection. Performance, we are now can encrypt or compress data of 100 gigabytes per second. So huge performance increases so that there is virtually no performance penalty by encrypting your data as they actually get processed. So huge security benefit. On the other side, also 3x or over 3x in cryptographic hashing. So a lot of those cryptography workloads, etc., we've actually also made those much faster and work with that. The technology which we've implemented for that is called Intel Quick Assist. That helps really on the encryption and compression of data, and therefore driving a much more secure environment. And we will hear more, I think, also on that from the other speakers. On the scalability and agility of the platform. So obviously with that performance gain, you will also obviously get a TCO benefit, because in the past you couldn't run as many virtual machines, for example, on a given platform than with this current platform. And if you look at a platform 4 years ago, you now have 4x, more than 4x, 400% more virtual machines which you can run on that workload. So in a cloud environment, etc., you can just load more workloads, more virtual users on that given platform, and with that have roughly around 65% or so TCO gains over past generations in that area. So the comment on that is obviously there is no reason to wait. Refresh now on the Intel Xeon Scalable Processor platform. And as an example, we've also worked there on the agility side with Telefonica, and Telefonica has more on the networking side used the Intel Xeon Scalable processors and run some tests on it for their virtual broadband gateway network and saw 67% of performance gains. So I spoke about SAS, who also have done a lot of the Intel Xeon Scalable processor with storage. Telefonica has done similar things on the networking side, saw a lot of gains there, and obviously performance of the pure platform driving then a huge advancements in that platform. So we really brought storage, networking, and compute power together in that platform, and therefore driving then this convergence of those three areas in here. So look at your compute models, look how you can implement really those platforms in your environment, and we, Dell EMC and Intel, are really here to help you in driving that transition. So we work very closely with Peter, we work very closely with his colleagues across EMEA to really drive that transition, to look also at your workload. So we are very happy on the web as well as here in the room to engage with you in the conversations on how the 14th generations of Dell EMC PowerEdge servers together with the Intel Xeon Scalable processor lineup can help you in driving your workloads and your business forward for business advantage. Thank you very much, and I hand it back to Peter.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. So 65% improvement in the performance of the processor is very, very impressive. A processor is only as good as a server. Next level out, the server is only as good as the workloads and the application that you then run on them. So the next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most long-established Dell PowerEdge users in the region. The next speaker has 2 times the research compute capacity of the next nearest research facility in the region. The next speaker is the first user of 14 generation servers from Dell in the UK, Cambridge University. The stage, Dr. Paul Collegia, Cambridge University. Paul. So the Research Computing Service, Cambridge University. I know this is an incredibly broad and open question.
Yeah.
What do you do?
What do I do? Okay, my boss is probably watching. Okay. So the Research Computing Service provides large-scale compute, storage, and increasingly data analytics services out to the whole research community across the university. And that research community today stands at around 1,000 different users spread across, I think now 42 departments across the whole university. So we're talking traditional hard sciences like physics, chemistry, engineering, I'm going to forget somebody, biology, and then more new types of users from social sciences, education, music, even now start to use research computing services. Increasingly clinical medicine, we're seeing a very large uptake in compute and data services from the clinic. So those 1,000 users are now using routinely computing and data to drive research questions, to solve research problems. Okay, so what does our infrastructure look like to serve those thousands of users across the university? Where you saw a picture of the data center there looking very clean. We swept the floor. So we have over 100 racks of Dell equipment. Every rack in that data center is exclusively full of Dell equipment. I think that's now 2,500 servers of different generations. I think we still have some 12G in there somewhere, I guess, lurking. But 2,500 servers, 40 petabytes of storage, so that's 40,000 terabytes of storage, an immense amount of storage, and lots of networking, quite specialist networking equipment now using Intel Omnipath networking, which gives us extremely high bandwidth connection between the storage and the servers. And what do we get from that infrastructure? We help our researchers solve those problems. We're seeing an increase in demand for our services running at 28% CAGR. It's been like that every year for the last 10 years, and it's still 28%. It's quite an interesting graph when I plot it. And that shows the demand for these services is riding really high within the university. We've now started projecting services out to the knowledge economy in Cambridge. Apart from the university, Cambridge has one of the most successful tech bubbles in Europe, if not the world. I think we're running 4th most successful tech cluster in the world. That tech cluster employs 58,000 people, produces £12 billion a year revenue, and we have a mandate to project research and data analytics compute services out to that cluster.
And with you've got a pretty large consignment of 14G servers on their way to you, so to speak.
Yeah.
What is the kind of plan in terms of the specific applications or workloads there?
We were fortunate last year to win a large government grant to produce a new national service focused on data-intensive science. Nowadays, research really is deeply wedded to the data, and we're seeing an explosion of data from experimental devices, from simulations, from various population data sets. So it's all about a marriage between data and compute. And with this large injection of cash, we're building the UK's largest data-centric compute facility for research, and the 14G server and the Intel processor within it are forming the bedrock of that compute infrastructure. Because of the incredible price performance increase. So capital cost is good. The power utilization is very good. So now we can produce a petaflop of compute performance. Now a petaflop is a million compute operations per second. Okay, normally petaflop machines, you're spending £30 million with Cray, very expensive, very specialist, proprietary systems that would consume around 1 megawatt of power for that petaflop. Our current national machine is like that. This machine comes in at 10 times less capital cost and 5 times less power.
Wow.
So we can now provide a petaflop of compute performance at a cost that an SME can afford. And that really revolutionizes what we can do with computing.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, if anybody else wants a petaflop, please come talk to us afterwards. Werner talked about some of the security features in the new Intel Xeon scalable processor. You're handling quite a lot of data. I'm assuming some of that data is sensitive.
Yeah, so one of our flagship projects at the moment is using OpenStack on the Dell Intel server platform to produce a secure environment where we project services into the clinic.
Right.
So we have one of the largest clinical clouds in the UK where we can project real-time data analytics services into the hospital, where we can produce a sandboxed environment, a safe environment where researchers can work on real-life patient data to produce models, analytical models, to improve patient health outcomes. And there's a really large potential benefit here where we can now start linking compute, real-time compute and analytics to electronic medical health records and telemetry to radically change how we deal with patient outcomes.
Fantastic, good. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed, Paul. It's really very, very interesting. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Collegia. My kind of key takeaways from my experience having worked with Paul over several years, and now what they're doing with 14th generation server, the words that I was kind of hearing there, it's about scale, it's about performance, but it's scale and performance within a power and cost envelope that is manageable, and increasingly that requirement for enhanced security given the kind of information that they're processing. And with that in mind, what I'd like to do now is welcome to the stage our next speaker, who's actually going to put a bit more meat on the bones. Above and beyond the processor, there's obviously a lot of good stuff that goes into the server that makes that server easier to manage, more controllable in the environment, and more secure. So please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, our Director of Server for EMEA, Mr. Robin Coopers.
Thank you very much, Peter. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So thank you for being here at what for me is a really, really great day in launching and announcing the 14 generations of PowerEdge servers. So we've got a very good track record with 13 generations previous to this one. So we know what's all about designing, manufacturing, and selling servers. And with the 14th generation, we really got to the next level of capabilities and performance, which I'm happy to share with you in a couple of minutes. Launching the products today, what does that mean for you? Basically means commercial availability as of today. As of today, the Dell EMC PowerEdge servers, the 14th generation servers, are available for our partners to resell and for our users to deploy for whatever workload they have to do. If we step back a little bit for a couple of seconds and think about the process and share the process with you, what we have done at Dell EMC, and how we are taking a different approach than before when it comes to bringing to market these new generation of servers. First of all, we've taken a very customer-centric approach. We listened very, very carefully what our communities had to say about where the future is going from them, what their pain points are, what their requirements are. And over the last 3, 4, 5 years, when we were designing this next generation of servers, we have embedded that feedback into this product. And we clearly heard from the boardrooms, from our largest customers to say, I got a couple of struggles. I got a couple of pain points. One definitely being the cost of IT. Budgets being flat, declining, some growing, but definitely not to the rate where they would like to see it. Looking at the roadmaps, looking at the radars on what they want to do and what the capabilities they have. On the other hand, everything about agility. They want to move forward to agility, but they're struggling with it. Cybersecurity, really big ticket item. And I think we're also, over the last couple of weeks, how much of a threat that security is nowadays. On the other hand, these companies do know that they need to innovate to stay ahead of their competition, to move forward with whatever their core business is, and they want to help. They want to help from us, they want to help from our partners to control all of that one. So within Dell Technologies, which is basically an umbrella naming of a set of companies, we have lined up multiple business units or brands to help those customers overcoming those pain points. There is security in there with RSA and SecureWorks. There is VMware in there when it comes to virtualization, but there is also a business unit called Dell EMC in there when it comes to the infrastructure offerings. And within Dell EMCs, we do have our classic storage offerings, we do have our classic network offering, our compute offerings, and our hyperconverged offerings. And all of these lines of businesses are now moving on with next generation. And for servers, for Dell EMC PowerEdge, that means our 14th generation of servers. Now, if we step down a little bit from the boardroom and we talk about what are the IT challenges they are having, what are they seeing on a daily basis, given the direction from the boardroom, we basically see that there are two kinds of transformations going on simultaneously. And Peter touched already on it on one of his slides. One is where most customers are still in, is the IT transformation. How do you make sure you got the right IT infrastructure to help your business? Basically, IT is a supporting tool to do the business in the right way. And the second one, where some customers are already testing in, is the digital transformation. And as Peter highlighted correctly, we see more and more customers rapidly making up their mind, what does digital transformation mean for them? But regardless where you're in, IT transformation or digital transformation, you need to have a foundation. And without the foundation, you are very, very challenged from an IT perspective to run the business accordingly. There's a cost associated with the transformation. And one of our objectives is driving down that cost by TCO and ROI models, which were clearly out by the Cambridge University as well. But we got multiple of those. But the savings that IT transformation can give you, you hopefully going to reinvest that money in driving digital transformation. And then you got this ongoing pattern in a very cost-effective way by deploying new generation of technology. And for us, as Dell EMC, and you heard the tagline already being called out a couple of times, for us, it's really the bedrock of the modern data center. That's what we're trying to achieve with the 14th generation servers. And we do have a hard belief that we're going to make this happen. Now, what does that mean, the bedrock of the modern data center? That could be a very good marketing slogan, but it means more for us. Think about the story from New York in the old days, 20s of the last century. The ground wasn't that stable and solid to build high constructs on. So New York in the early days, relatively small houses. And then they discovered the rock. I think it was 7 miles away downtown Manhattan, a big, big rock. And with that big, big rock, they were now able to build skyscrapers. And sky is literally the limit in New York. And that's the same kind of thinking we're applying to the 14th generation of server. It's now giving that foundation to customers, end users, and partners to build on that bedrock whatever they desire to do so. Going to a compute-centric data center where compute does everything, you could do with 14th generation whatever you want. That could be a traditional workload, which you might deploy today. That might be a cloud-native deployment, which you might want to do if you go into the digital IT transformation. And with companies like Pivotal, we're easy to help you with giving all kinds of connectors to build that cloud connection. But you can also do software-defined networking. If you want to go open networking, nothing is holding you off running that on a Dell PowerEdge 14th generation server. Or if you want to do software-defined storage, you can easily do that with a 14th generation servers. We designed those servers to be ready for those kind of tasks. Going back to software-defined storage for a second, we have filled literally every hole we had in the server with a hard drive for you or an SSD, giving you capacity which is unlimited almost. And we're probably outperforming from a capacity point of view many, many dedicated storage arrays today, all on a compute level. What's the benefit for you as an end user or you as a partner of us? First of all, economies of scale. The more we drive from the same, the more cost efficient it can be done in all terms. But also equally important, think about the foundation when it comes to management. If everything runs on a Dell EMC PowerEdge 14th generation server, you suddenly have consistent management. They're all running on the same system management engine. And then you're deploying that technology into your server world, into your network world, into your storage world, into your hyperconverged world, saving you a lot of money from a system management suite perspective, saves you a lot of money when it comes to training and educating your IT staff. So the bedrock of the modern data center is more than just a marketing buzz. It's a real vision, a strategy behind it on how we can help you driving a unified platform, driving down cost, giving you more performance, giving you more flexibility. That's what the bedrock is all about. We designed basically 3 pillars when it comes to PowerEdge 14th generation, and you see them on the screen right now. And these are all very workload-centric pillars. So traditionally, you would say there is new technology coming to market, like Intel just spoke about it, and we would have adopted that technology and brought that technology to you. Now we have done it differently. We listened very carefully to Intel when we had our roadmap discussion, say, what are you going to do over the next coming years? Said, that's interesting with your processors. We took those processors and said, okay, that's a great processor to do high frequency trading. Or that's a great processor to do VDI. Or that will be a great processor if you do in-memory databases. And that was the starting point for us designing the 14th generation of server. So we took the technology, we basically bundled that technology, and the platforms that you are having access for today are being modeled about the workload. So it's not a traditional entry-level, mid, high-end. No, you and I, we need to understand what workload you're running so we can give you the best advice, what kind of platform will match it. And we have optimized the platform for you. And we've done it on these 3 pillars. And these 3 pillars are, one is adopt and scale, which is all about implementing that technology in your organization in the best way. The second one is automation, which is all about system management. And the third one is about protect. It's all about security. Remember what I mentioned earlier? Security, cyber threats, one of the boardroom major pain points they're trying to overcome. By natively embedding system security into the server, we're trying to help those customers as good as we can. Now, unfortunately, we don't have time enough to go deep on every single pillar with all the new features and functionality we're going to bring to you. But as I said, the products are commercially available today, so you can look up the specs on the web. But I will pick a couple of them on these 3 pillars, which I think are very interesting to call out. Let's start with adopt and scale. Adopt and scale is all about you got a legacy infrastructure today. You might have 13th generation of PowerEdge service, maybe 12, maybe 10. Time for renewal, by the way. But if you got a different brand, a different technology, we know you will not rip and replace overnight. So what we're doing with PowerEdge 14th generation is making sure that the compatibility is there. So we are highly committed to open industry standards. We adopted those. And adopt is all about how can you quickly and efficiently deploy these servers in your current infrastructure and then run from there. When it comes to scale, it's all about from compute on demand. Again, remember one of the first sentences I said on the boardroom discussions, cost is a major pain point. So helping customers to start relatively small and then scale in the right way on their own terms is a good thing for us to help them with. So with 14th generation, you can start very small, and through virtualization and other technology out there, you can buy at the right time the next node, the next performance level, you add it and it becomes one. So that's what we mean with adopt and scale. So we're dynamically tuning to the business needs of our customers. Let me give you 3 examples. One has already been given away to a certain extent with a good reason from Intel. We have adopted Intel's latest generation of processor, codenamed Skylake. So you got now a wide variety of processors available and chipsets and every feature functionality that goes with that Intel technology into the 14th generation really brings performance to the next level. And I would even say 2 levels further than we might have expected. So for those hungry applications that need the maximum performance, you can go with the newest Intel processors and you will have a fantastic server. But we know there are customers out there who need more. And GPUs are a very common kind of CPU technology to be used, added into the server to bring performance to the next level. And with the 14th generation of servers, we will have more GPUs offerings than ever before. And in the width of the portfolio, so more servers by itself are now qualified, tested, and being available with GPUs, but also the number of GPUs that goes into server has gone up. So Intel as the level 1 of foundation on top performance. You want to go further, you go with GPUs. And then the key question, does it stop over there? No, it doesn't. With 14th generation, we're even going one step further. We will offer FPGAs, field programmable gate arrays, add-in cards into the server, where if you have an understanding how that works, you can tune that CPU workload to the maximum performance. So 3 levels of offering, really giving you the highest level of performance with our next generation servers. What are the other technologies on the memory side? Persistent memory. 14th generation of server will offer you persistent memory next to the standard DDR4 memory that's in today. What is persistent memory? It's a new memory technology that sits in between the processor and the traditional memory, giving you basically an ability to dump data into the fastest memory you can get over there, NVDIMMs. If you have a workload that is persistent memory aware, you can utilize that technology. As we are here at the Microsoft facility, Microsoft SQL 2016 is persistent memory aware, and you drive the capability from the database to new levels we have never seen before with persistent memory. Example number 3, storage. I said software-defined storage. We basically put every opportunity we had, we filled every gap we had, gap in a positive way, with an SSD. So you will have SSD drives or traditional drives sitting in the front, in the middle, or in the back, depending on the 14th generation type of server you will select. Give you maximum capacity over there. And we are bringing NVMe, the latest SSD technology, to the next level, to the masses over here. So you can mix and match whatever your business requires, but NVMe is that technology that we will push forward with the 14th generation servers. And you will see much, much more NVMe offerings than ever before in the Dell EMC PowerEdge offerings. And talking about hard drives, one very smart thing we did, just as a sticky message here to bring home with. So you're going to buy a 14th generation server, hopefully soon from us. You populate it with a lot of drives, all the drives in there. What's the last thing you don't want to happen? Probably giving up 2 hard drives for booting up your server, or where your operating system is installed, or where your hypervisor is installed. We're going to offer a feature called the BOSS card, Boot Optimized Storage, where you can put a plug-in card, a PCI plug-in card, with 2 M.2 SSDs, just for booting up your drive in a very efficient way. So you're not wasting your raw capacity, your most expensive storage into the server for just booting up your server. A very clever idea how we're helping customers deploying the service in the most efficient way. Let's move to the second pillar, automate. Automate is all about system management. Taking an example here, mobile management. So using your phone on a day-to-day basis is very normal for you today. You probably do everything with your phone. You communicate, you might switch on your thermostat at home, you put your lights on, you control your television with everything. Why wouldn't you control your data center with your mobile phone? Mobile version 2.0 now available for Dell Open Manage, which you can install on your tablet or your phone, will run with QuickSync, which is a new functionality. QuickSync 2.0, which is a new functionality on 14th generation servers. And now it doesn't matter anymore if you are an Android user or an iOS user. We support both operating systems from a mobile device. In the current generation, we're doing NFC. You tick the box and you can read it. In the 14th generation, we'll do a combination of Bluetooth and wireless, where you can literally control, again with Android or iOS, your whole data center, just walking around through your data center. And security has been taken care of. Password, encryption, handshakes, module, everything has been 100% secured. The other thing on Automate is we're introducing iDirect 9, which is basically a computer in a computer. And I think Kevin will talk about it next, in the next slot about it, what functionality we can give you with iDirect 9. iDirect 9 is a dual-core ARM processor, basically a computer in a computer, constantly monitoring the server. Does everything to control it, to to see if everything going well. And if there is an instance where we have doubts, it flags up with a blinking LED or whatever to highlight you need to take a look at it. And the iDirect 9 has so much performance that it can run constantly in many clock cycles, monitoring the monitor of the server, so that we don't run out of performance if you add more components in there, if you want to check more than you regularly do. Third one on system management, we're introducing Dell Open Manage Essentials 2.0, which is the software offering with the server. But we're also announcing, which becomes commercially available for free, probably the second half of this year, Dell Open Manage Enterprise Edition. And with the Enterprise Edition, we're going to a much broader framework suite where you can manage multiple servers and maybe multiple other elements. Keep in mind what I told you earlier. The bedrock of the data center can be compute, can be networking, can be storage. So we need to have a management suite that's lined up to that one in the capabilities as well. So it's not only the hardware, it's also the software, and it's also the services that we apply to it to make it happen. Then the third one, before I'm running out of time, is all about protect security. We have embedded in the silicon as much as we can to make the server as secure as possible. Think about locking down your server if you feel something suspicious is going on. It basically freezes up the server, and I don't mean freezing up, it doesn't do anything. No, the server keeps running, but you, as an IT administrator or anybody else, cannot apply any changes to it anymore. Regardless if it's a BIOS change, a firmware change, a driver change, or whatever, you as an IT administrator can say here and no further until I know what's going on. You can do a system erase if you want. If you decommission a server, you can give an instruction and it wipes all your data from your storage devices and your memory just to make sure no data is there anymore. We have digitally signed driver installation. Drivers that we don't trust, which don't have that signature, will not allow to install on your terms and conditions, just to make sure there are no malware options, at least as less as possible, to get into your server. Now, to close off my little presentation over here is, we don't really care how you deploy the server. You can buy the server by itself, 14th generation server. We're happy to take your order, as Peter earlier said, and you can then put your workloads on there. We can help you with pre-installed configurations. We have ready configurations where the virtualization, the hypervisor is already on there, where certain workloads are already on there, where we have tuned the settings in the BIOS and everything we did for you depending on your workload. And if you even say, I want to go one step further, hyperconverged solutions will run on 14th generation servers as well, where you have the whole stack as a hyperconverged solution with Dell EMC PowerEdge as the base on that one. So with that said, Kevin Jones, can I introduce you to the stage for a little bit of a proof what I just told on system management. Hello. Good luck.
Excellent. The screen, it's good when the screen does what you want it to do. Straight away, I'm going to give you a brief demo of the new iDirect 9. Robin mentioned many of the functions that are now available in the iDirect 9. We've also heard a lot about security. Everyone seems to be mentioning it in all the previous sessions. We've listened to the market, even on the out-of-bound management infrastructure. Those of you who are familiar with iDirect, I'm sure, are aware that we used to use a password that was common and it was all over Google and everyone could easily find it. We have changed that. We are no longer using a standard password. We are now more secure. We have a randomly generated password on each server. So we've listened to the analysts that told us that needs to change. Also, we have the availability to put a banner here across at the front, so that if you have an organization that has to have a certain message to warn hackers off or to warn undesirables away, they can customize that banner to their particular requirements. So let's log in. And straight away you'll see that the interface has changed an awful lot. It's now entirely HTML5 based, which gives us a lot of new capabilities, lots more graphical things that we can do. As Robin mentioned, the processor that the iDRAC is running on is now a much faster processor. Even the memory that we're using with that processor is greatly enhanced and increased in size. Again, back to security. Robin mentioned the fact we could lock down the server. We can do that straight away here. That server on the desk there is now locked down. Yes, this is a real demo. I'm actually running off the server here on the desk. So no one can change anything in that server. No one can change a BIOS setting. No one could apply any updates. It's now locked until I do that and unlock it. It's very easy, but you obviously need to be administrator to do it. Another feature that's there straight away on the login, well, the main dashboard, is something called Group Manager. So if we have customers that have got not hundreds of servers, but maybe 10, 20 servers, and they want to be able to sort of manage them centrally or have more focus of what all the servers are doing in one place, we can now set up a group so that each server will report its status into one master iDRAC, and then I can do a link and launch of all the slave iDRACs from that master iDRAC. So it's been tested up to 100 servers, so it's quite a number, but it means that you don't have to install a separate console to manage multiple servers. Some other features we've added, as you can see, there's me saying it's very quick, it goes slow. On our network devices screen, we can now, if we have LLDP enabled in our network, we can see where all of our connections go to. There's nothing showing here because we're not on a network, but you can see in principle what it does. The main thing about iDRAC is all of this is happening completely out of band. So the server's not even switched on, but I'm able to do all this. I can even go and configure my storage and present it to a running operating system without having to go into the operating system and change anything at all. If I added a load of new disks to that server, I could configure them out of band and present them to the running operating system with absolutely zero downtime. Key difference. So, also the other thing, one of the things that was mentioned was the fan settings. We can change that in this screen very easily. So we can change the individual airflow across the PCIe slots. So as Peter and Robin said, we can now install a lot larger range of GPUs and FPGAs and other high heat generating PCIe cards that will need extra airflow. So we can tune the airflow per PCIe slot. So it gives great deal more flexibility for customers who want to add in things that aren't necessarily default choices. Another thing we've added is the ability through the iDRAC service module to do phone home back to Dell. So if we have a customer who doesn't have a central console for managing and monitoring all their servers, say for instance we have a remote office or a branch office or a small company who just has one tower server in their environment, they can configure the server so it does its own phone home through the iDRAC service module back to Dell. So it'll do its own hardware monitoring. Say for instance, obviously the CPUs won't go wrong, Werner, but maybe a memory DIMM from another manufacturer other than Intel starts registering a fault. It'll be logged by the iDRAC, and the iDRAC will then talk through the iDRAC service module in the operating system and then get the operating system to log a call back with Dell. So again, it takes the stress away from organizations that may not have the hardware skills or the knowledge on site to monitor and look after the hardware they've got. In addition, now I'm obviously connecting to the iDRAC here through the iDRAC network port on the back. On the front of the server is a little micro USB port. It's got a spanner or a wrench if you're from America next to it. That is the iDRAC Direct port. What it means is if I've got a server in a data center, and frequently those of you who've had to go to data centers, you walk in and you try and find the crash cart and someone's already using the crash cart. So you cannot do what you need to do on your server. With the iDRAC Direct port, I can take a standard USB cable, so a micro USB to normal or full-size USB port, plug it in, and I can get directly to the iDRAC through my laptop. And it works on Windows, Linux, pretty much any desktop operating system. It'll provide an IP address to your laptop, and then you just connect to the iDRAC and away you go. You can work on the iDRAC and do your configuration, your setup, anything you need to. Install the operating system, install drivers directly from your laptop. It can also apply server configuration profiles through that port. The other, as Robbie mentioned, is the QuickSync 2. So we can take one of these mobile devices that I'm sure we've all got. We can download Open Manage Mobile directly from the Play Store or the Apple Play Store, whatever they call it, for free, completely no charge whatsoever, and go to your server. You have to push a button, so for those of you that are worried about security, you don't just walk around your data center waving your phone around and saying, I'm reading off all your servers. You have to push a button on the server, then you can sync with your server, get your settings. If you want to change anything, you need to enter a password to change it on your device. So again, a mobile device. In addition, Open Manage Mobile can connect to an Open Manage Essentials environment. Open Manage Essentials 2.3 has been released, which will support 14th generation servers. It also has some new features in there, particularly around those of you who are familiar with the FX2 or the M1000 E-Blade chassis, around the I/O aggregators and capturing profiles from those. And as Robin said, we will be releasing Open Manage Enterprise towards the end of this year. Now, Open Manage Enterprise, I probably shouldn't say it too loudly in this building, but will no longer require Windows to run on. So that was one of the obstruction or the resistances we got from the Linux community that didn't like to have to put Windows, sorry Microsoft, in their environments. So now it's an appliance-based model, and as I say, will be available towards the end of the year. Again, it's like iDRAC 9, it's going to be HTML5 based, and it will become, we keep saying that the 14th generation server is the bedrock for the data center. This will be the bedrock for all of our systems management going forward. It's going to become a central point where all the plugins are going to link into. So, I would suggest that you can go on to demos.dell.com and actually go onto this interface if you want to learn about it. Come and have a look at the server to see the iDRAC Direct port, and on that I will hand back to Peter.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always very brave doing a demonstration in front of a live audience. If you know you've got several thousand people watching at home over the internet, you deserve a couple of medals, frankly, for doing a live demonstration. It was very good. Thank you, Kevin. So we've talked a lot about our servers. Actually, inside a data center, server is really one of three main components. We have compute, the server, we also have storage, and we have networking. Now, with Dell and EMC coming together, our kind of leadership position in both compute and storage is kind of pretty self-evident. What is less well known, and we're going to seek to address that right now, is Dell EMC's leadership in open networking. So with no further ado, our Director of Networking, Mr. Lee Larter.
Thank you, Peter. So as we've spoken about already this morning, digitalization driven through mobile, web-based applications is transforming the way that our customers, that your customers are interacting with, consuming, and purchasing products and services. As a result of that, leaders in every industry are looking at new ways in which to transform their IT infrastructure in order to stay competitive and stay ahead of the curve. And in order to do that, we're working with the community in terms of what we call IT transformation. Modernize, automate, and transform that traditional IT infrastructure for cloud native, mobile native, digital applications. In order to do that successfully, the market recognizes, and Gartner, IDC, analysts that we talk to, recognizes that all of those pillars need to transform at the same time: compute, storage, and networking. And the area within the data center where we really haven't seen much innovation over the last decade, like we have seen with our compute colleagues or with our storage colleagues, is in the networking space. And that's absolutely where Dell EMC networking is changing the story, changing the conversation. We're recognized by the market in terms of driving a disruptive and innovative story out into the market in collaboration with our ecosystem of vendors. And if you look at some of the latest Gartner Magic Quadrants in terms of where Dell EMC networking are now positioned, it's absolutely in a thought leadership perspective. Out there driving a new way of networking for cloud native applications, and we're doing that in collaboration with our open networking ecosystem of partners. So for the first time in this year's Gartner Magic Quadrant, we have companies like Big Switch Networks, Cumulus Networks, that we've been evangelizing in collaboration with over the last 24 months around the transition away from traditional way of driving network transformation to a new way. And at the same time, we have customer testimonials that are now stating that the operational benefits of open networking are real life. This is no longer proof of concept. So on the same Gartner survey, they've just released customer satisfaction results. And of course, all of the vendors that you see here on the graph, Dell EMC networking scored 4.9 out of 5 from a number of customer surveys in terms of those organizations that have deployed Dell EMC networking, the highest of all of the data center network vendors in the market. So what are the tenets that we're driving in terms of bringing to market so we can help accelerate your digital transformation? Well, really, it's around these areas that you see here on the screen. So first and foremost, as you've heard from Intel, 4.2x the number of VM density. So as we drive more applications on less physical infrastructure in the desire to drive more with less, we need to drive that over fewer physical connections. So you're going to start seeing standardization of 25 gig at the top of rack in our 14G servers. And as a result, you need to be driving native 25 gig connectivity. And at Dell EMC World, we announced the industry's first native 25 gig switch, the S5100, that will support the new high VM density from our PowerEdge 14G servers. At the same time, all of those individual virtual machines, those individual applications require isolated security policies. As the market looks at how we comply to the new GDPR regulations in readiness for May 2018, we're bringing tools to you in terms of building those security policies on a per tenant basis. And we're driving that through our software-based networking architecture in collaborations with partners such as VMware and their NSX technologies. IoT. So for the first time, the wired network is starting to become the bottleneck. We're seeing innovations in terms of access technology, in terms of connecting more users to their data so we can take it back into those data center repositories for analytics. So we've innovated and we're driving innovations out at the edge so we don't have to rip and replace the 7 billions of Cat5e infrastructure laid around the customers' organizations with our next generation campus network products, the N2000, N3000, supporting 2.5 and 5 gig. At the same time, we'll be working with the compute business unit to bring mobile edge computing to the market. So at the same time as you're driving your cloud strategy, we can't send all information back to the data center. So how do we process that rich analytics out at the edge with this new Intel Xeon Scalable processor and the PowerEdge 14G servers, mobile edge computing, and the innovations we're driving around our NFV architecture are absolutely helping there. And in order to get insight in terms of all of this rich data, telemetry and analytics will be built into everything that we do. And some of the early wins we've had with software-based networking have been absolutely around the telemetry and analytics use case. So we can have pervasive visibility of all of our data from a security, from a performance perspective. So Dell, EMC Networking, and our ecosystem of partners, we're essentially looking to transform the industry with innovative, open, and scalable network solution that overcome some of the architectural limitations associated with traditional networks, the way networks have been designed for the last decade, the client-server industry. Through the combination of software and physical-based networking, coupled with cloud orchestration frameworks, open cloud orchestration frameworks, our vision for a software-defined data center delivers simplicity, scalability, ultimately resource utilization. The result for you, our customers, a purpose-built data center network for the third platform, for social, for mobile, for analytics, and for cloud. Delivered through a disaggregated strategy by which we offer choice in terms of platform from a hardware perspective, be that from Intel, Broadcom, KVM, or some of the newer networking providers such as Barefoot. If you want an operating system from a tier 1 manufacturer, we will continue to supply that via our Dell networking operating system, OS 9 or OS 10, which is our new Linux native kernel, which is also the foundation for Microsoft Open Compute Project and the Sonic Initiative, software for open networking in the cloud as part of Microsoft Azure, as we look at these hybrid cloud strategies across the data center. Or we can innovate at the pace of software. If you want to look at some of the new fabric capabilities from organizations such as Big Switch, Pluribus, Cumulus, then just like you've been able to upgrade your software from Linux to Microsoft, because we're in Microsoft on a PowerEdge server, you can do that with an open networking switch at the same time. Also, we heard today already in terms of some of the advances in compute power from an Intel platform perspective, that's enabling telcos to redefine the economics of their service provider networks. So this is really what we're driving with our NFV solutions. So built on the PowerEdge architecture, we're building network function virtualization infrastructure, reference architectures for the world's largest telcos, by which we're taking functionality which is traditionally run on dedicated appliances inside of the network and moving it to x86 based servers. The compute power inside of the 14G servers now enables us to run application delivery, firewalls, virtual EPC capabilities on side of industry standard compute, which radically redefines the economics of networking for the world's largest telcos, which is now available to the enterprise through our open networking strategy. So we've heard already today how PowerEdge 14G servers with the Intel scalable Xeon processors are the bedrock for the software-defined data center. So as we start looking at use cases in terms of how we can work with you, our customers, to build a secure environment around micro-segmentation for GDPR, where we start building policies at the hypervisor level, we can do that with our open networking ecosystem of partners. No longer do you have to have expensive traditional network architecture configuring the network. We can drive policy-based automation at the hypervisor level. So again, driving more with less, driving consolidation from a resource perspective, so transforming your operations at the same time. We can enable application continuity either by enabling VM migration within data center between servers across geographically dispersed locations or between heterogeneous clouds. So the power of software-defined networking enables us to deliver that. And again, it enables us to offer innovation at the pace of software development. So we're not tying you into 5-7 year refresh cycles. We're offering you a platform where we deliver choice through the power of software. So with that, thank you for your time, and I'll hand back over to Peter.
Thank you, Lee. Cheers. Good job. So, To reiterate some of what Lee said there, in an environment where the data center fabric is converging, the traditional boundaries between compute, storage, and networking, those boundaries are going away. It makes more and more sense to acquire compute, storage, and networking from a single vendor who can then provide you with single integrated support across all three of those components. And that is what we as Dell EMC are able to provide you. Now, I'm conscious that there's a number of people in the audience here today and also no doubt watching at home from our partner community. Our 14th generation of servers extends what we've been doing over previous generations in doing ever more and more and more work together with our partners, value-added resellers, distributors, service providers, cloud service providers, and integrators. So please welcome to the stage our Director of Channels, Mr. Andrew Corcoran.
Cheers, Peter. I don't need that. Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to those of you that are across EMEA, given that it's now coming up to 12 there. I get this great opportunity to show some appreciation and to show the contribution that the channel community has made in helping us attain that #1 position globally on server units. But I want to quantify exactly what that means in terms of from the EMEA contribution. And I checked with Robin this morning. And I'm here to let you know that our channel community currently provides in the region of about 70% of the server units that are sold across the whole of EMEA. So it's natural that I would want to make a very warm welcome, as Peter said, to the distributors, to the reseller partners, and also to the MSPs, the cloud service providers that we have inside of the room and across EMEA today. My heartfelt thanks for that 70%. We think one of the fundamental reasons why our partners are being successful is that the Dell EMC Partner Program has created a very simple, a very predictable, and a very profitable environment for our channel community. And to focus briefly on that profitable aspect of the program, for those of you who don't know, we are really rewarding the partners in the different countries across EMEA for finding those opportunities that are net new to Dell. So where we find a competitor that's based in the data center, we are providing stackable and additional rebates to those particular partners. And that's one of the fundamental reasons why our channel has been so successful across EMEA. We're also fortunate in that the partners that we work with on a daily basis, and certainly the ones that I visit in the UK on a regular basis, are a mature and sophisticated set of solutions providers. They are interested in delivering and integrating solutions for our end user customers. They understand that one of the things that Peter spoke about earlier, which was we have to be able to translate that workload, what really matters to the end user customer, to deliver it onto a great platform such as the 14th generation of our PowerEdge servers. So we're lucky that we've got partners capable of doing that. But the one thing that sets them aside is their ability to deliver the local and the intimate feel of that service delivery to end user customers in the UK and across EMEA. And I'm going to come back to why that is particularly important. You know, we've heard also that as part of an end user customer's digital transformation journey, there's some key aspects around the IT transformation that will become imperative in demonstrating the success of that IT or the digital transformation journey. The three elements that we think will have the biggest success in contributing to that success will be your capability to modernize, to automate, and transform the data centers that our customers' environments are in. Being able to do that will help us achieve the real requirements that our customers have in the data center around providing great reliability, around providing reduced costs in the data center through enhanced management capabilities. And we've seen that through Robin's presentation and through Kevin's presentation. But I think, and just to summarize where I think the channel will add the biggest value and will provide the greatest opportunity, is continuing to deliver that real intimate feel, that local feel of integrating these solutions in the customer's environment. Because it's when the customer chooses to deliver and implement such technologies as the Dell Open Managed Enterprise solutions or any one of the members of the Open Managed family, that you really see the benefits that the latest of the technologies has been able to provide. So that's where I think the greatest opportunity lies for our channel partners in EMEA to continue to deliver that intimate service for our customers that demonstrates the key benefits of the technology. So this was just a very brief opportunity for me to really recognize and appreciate the contribution that the channel partners, that the distribution partners, and also the MSPs and CSPs have delivered to us. So thank you very much once again. Peter, just to hand back to you.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, indeed. I just would like again to call out, a big thank you to all of our channel partners. So on behalf of Dell EMC, and also on behalf of the customers that are here who benefit from working with all of our channel and technology partners, I'd just like to suggest a quick round of applause for our partners. Thank you. So we've talked about product. Product requires superb world-class service and support. So I'd like you to welcome to the stage our last speaker for this morning's event, the Director of Services, Mr. Tim Loke.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Yes, I have the pleasure of leading our support and deployment business here in the UK, and I also look after parts of the business across Europe, Middle East and Africa as well for the broader region. Today, though, I'm not actually here to talk to you very much about our services. I'm here to talk to you about the facility we're in. So today we are here at Microsoft, leveraging their MTC capability. As many of you will be aware, technology is great, sitting on a desk being demoed by somebody who knows how it works. It's even better if you're trying it out in your personal scenarios, seeing how your workloads can work on the technology. You can do that leveraging our capability and that of Microsoft at their technology centers around the world. So Microsoft technology centers are available here in Thames Valley Park, as well as all across the region. You can see all the dots on the chart behind me. In these facilities, you can work with Microsoft and Dell EMC experts to prove out your technology workloads running on 14G servers and using Microsoft technology. We actually have delivered now a 14th generation Azure Stack capability into the technology center here in Thames Valley Park. I know for a lot of organizations I've been talking to over the last few months, that's something that has been kind of eagerly anticipated. So that you can now come see that, try it, put your workloads on it, use them, and have help from both Microsoft and Dell EMC specialists to help you do that in advance of any purchase of anybody's technology. So you can see how it all works before you go down that road. You can work with your channel partners as well to do the same thing. It's not just Azure Stack though. Through the technology centers, we've got capability now to cover pretty much the entire portfolio of Microsoft technology running particularly on Dell EMC products and capabilities. So whether you're looking at how you can adopt clouds or how you empower your employees and think about enabling employees to work from anywhere with any device in the most efficient fashion, or how much capability and throughput can you get out of that database that you're considering deploying, we can enable you to test and prove out all of those different concepts, leveraging the Microsoft facilities and the Dell EMC capability that we provide with our technology and our experts to work with you to prove that out. So if you'd like to discuss any specific scenarios, please come see me afterwards. Those of you on the webcast, my details will be available after the event as well. Peter.
Thank you very much indeed. So ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we talked at the beginning of today's event about how digital transformation enables companies and organizations to reach out to their customers and their communities in new and innovative ways. We talked about how that requires software, which in turn operates in a cloud or cloud-like environment, wherever that may be, on-premise, off-premise, hybrid. How the fundamental building block of that is virtualized everything, hyper-converged, converged infrastructure, which ultimately sits on an x86 server, the bedrock of the modern data center. Werner from Intel took us through the new Intel Xeon scalable chips and how they can boost performance by up to 65%. Robin then talked about all the other capabilities and features and functionality that we've packed into our 14th generation servers. And again, another big call out actually to Dr. Paul Collegia from Cambridge, who gave us real world examples, how he's building out a research capability of a teraflop of compute and doing that in a secure way using some of the enhanced security features inherent in the new 14th generation server. So as you can probably tell from how I'm talking about our servers and all the other speakers have talked about them, we're pretty proud of what we've delivered with our 14th generation servers. And we look forward to working with you on your digital transformation journey in the weeks, the months, and the years ahead. Thank you very much indeed.